Yeah, this storm looks like a real monster coming in. And you have family, not right in the strike zone, but in areas that, you have to be concerned about them a little bit.
Exactly, all along the coast. And a lot of people, if you know your family, friends, maybe give them a call and kind of encourage them to go ahead on and maybe take the necessary precautions or evacuate. It's always good. Sometimes it's a little harder for them to listen to strangers to leave. So
I'd be out. Yeah, I would listen in.
It's for the best, for sure. Let's go on and get right into it, because the tropics, that is the big story here as we get ready for your tropical update here. And we've been tracking the latest with Florence. Now, what's very interesting about Florence today is the actual winds of the storm have actually decreased just a little bit. It went from 140 this morning down to 120 this afternoon, which is still a Category 3 major hurricane. But what's happening, if you look closely at the beginning of this frame, you see how we have that nice, well-defined eye, and now it looks like it's getting smaller and smaller as it's moving north. That's what we call an eye replacement. It's going through another one. It went through one yesterday, going through another one now, and so sometimes the winds decrease briefly for that. Also notice that the storm is kind of expanding a little bit in coverage, and that means that the storm is not weakening. It's just expanding the wind field a little bit, so it's going to affect more people when that happens. Here's the latest look at the tropical alerts. We have hurricane warnings in effect all along the North Carolina coast, and we have hurricane watches in effect as far south as Charleston now, and that's because the storm could actually start to pivot that way as well. Here's the latest official track. Again, you'll be able to see as we head towards Thursday, it's approaching as a major hurricane the North Carolina coast, and then notice Thursday and Friday it just stops. It hits a wall. It doesn't move, and that's going to be when the storm begins to make that turn off towards the left, and it depends on how far south or west that goes, depends on if it will make its way through South Carolina or make its way into the Georgia coast. Either way, this is going to expand the dangerous conditions all up and down that coast. So you hear us talk a lot about the winds, but really the most dangerous part of the hurricane is always the storm surge. So what is that? Well, that is the high water level rises that come in off of the ocean. So think about this as a kid when you were in a bathtub. You know how you used to run your arms up and down in the water there, and the water would splash out of the tub onto the floor, and your mom would get mad. Well, this is basically what storm surge is. That water gets splashed in, and as you get around 6 feet or so, that's when it starts to enter into some of the buildings, some of the doors on the first floor. But once you get up towards 9 to 12 feet of surge, very possible with this storm as it moves into the North Carolina coast, you get to see that water start to rise up towards the second level. So that's going to be one of the bigger concerns. And of course, the tropical winds. Look at the winds over 100 miles per hour making its way in by Friday morning, all up and down the North Carolina coast with hurricane force winds inland as far as Fayetteville and over towards Wallace and even Myrtle Beach. And then as we go from Friday all the way into Saturday, notice we're still talking tropical storm force winds as far out as Charleston, Charlotte, North Carolina, up to Raleigh. So this is going to have a widespread effect for them. And then as that storm just sits there and dumps a ton of rainfall over the Carolinas, we're talking the potential of 15 to 30 inches with isolated higher amounts than that. Current temperature outside, we're sitting at about 83 degrees with that low humidity because of high pressure. As it slides off to the east, this is the high pressure that's actually going to make this hurricane stop and start to drift towards the south. As we get on the backside of it, it's going to bring us in a little warmer and more humid weather, but still not too bad. Overnight tonight, clear and cool. Will drop down into the 50s. As we go into your Thursday, highs are into the low to mid 80s across the area, again with low humidity and lots of sunshine. We stick with that forecast through the weekend. Our next chance of rain possibly by the middle of next week.